Duke Eclipse presents the Horror Hideout Podcast, a podcast covering everything horror, including books, comics, and movies. Presented by Dawson Duke and Kayla Bullock.
Welcome to Horror Hideout.
Today is book day.
So we're doing Blackmouth by Ronald Malfi, which is a book you suggested.
Yes. So before we get into this book, though, shameless plug for Tim King, because his new book just came out and it's called We Were Never Really Friends. Check it out.
We're not sponsored.
We are not. But it's really good, but he's one of my favorites, so I have to throw it out there. It's really good, and it's not really it's kind of serial killerish, I guess. So yeah, check it out. But today we are doing Blackmouth by Ronald Malfi, and we actually had a different book picked out.
Yeah.
And I just happened to read this one and was like, oh my gosh, this is what we should do for our serial killer book. So if you have not read anything by Malfi, he's very, very good. I've liked everything I've read by him. So.
And we were talking about it, and this book feels to us like a mixture of Something Wicked This Way Comes and It.
Very much leans into the It.
Yeah.
Feeling.
I think it very much reads like a Stephen King book, which is a compliment. Yeah. I love Stephen King.
I'm going to let you start, because I feel like the last couple episodes I've yacked my mouth off.
Okay, so do you want me to do a non-spoiler? I guess what I can say is this is similar to It. It's about a group of friends, a group of people that were friends when they were kids coming back to their hometown because a dark thing from their past comes back up.
Right.
And I think that's about all I can say without spoiling anything.
Yeah. So.
And check out the trigger warnings in the description before you listen, because there are a lot of dark themes in this story.
Yeah. So, I am terrible with names. What's our main guy's name?
Oh, I don't know. Most of the book is like his point of view.
Look on the back. Does it tell you his name on the back?
Jamie.
Okay. So, Jamie is our main character. And Jamie and his friends grew up in a town called, I don't remember what the town is called, but there was this part of town they all called Blackmouth.
Yeah.
And it was
like an abandoned mine.
Yeah, it was a series of mines that had collapsed, obviously before Jamie was born, and so because of the mines, they called it Blackmouth.
Yeah. And it collapsed in like a sinkhole.
Yeah. And so the book is...
Well, and when it collapsed, miners were still in there, so it killed like 26 miners or something like that.
But we're obviously not going to talk about it this way because it gets confusing and remember what happens when. Yeah. But
it's not confusing as you read it. It would be confusing for us to explain.
So the timeline is modern day, and then a lot of things are Jamie's thoughts, like memories from previous.
So it kind of goes back and forth between what happened to them as kids and what's happening now, which is also similar to It.
Yeah, and it's really good. It's really, the way it's done is very, I've read books before where it gets really confusing.
Yeah.
And this is not like that. So,
No, and every time it introduces a new character, they feel like a distinct character. Mm-hmm. Like, there was no point where I was like, I'm getting characters confused. Like, everyone has a distinct voice and feels like their own person.
Yeah. So, we've got Jamie and his brother Dennis.
And their last name is Warren.
And then we have his two friends.
Clay is the one with vitiligo.
Yeah.
Which, if you don't know what that is, he's a black man with a skin disease that has slowly made the pigment in his skin fade away. So, like, when he was a kid, it was just, he looked white around his eyes and around his mouth, and on his hands a little bit. And now it's spread more, and it's the same thing that Michael Jackson was found to have in his autopsy, which is why his skin changed color during his life.
Yeah. So, and then we have Mia. And Mia... So basically our three kids, well, they're not, obviously they aren't kids now, but when they were kids, they were kind of the outcast misfits of
Which is also very It.
And
with
so...
the Losers Club.
Mia's parents had died, and so she lived with her uncle. And so really you don't learn a whole lot about her background, except for it sounds like her uncle was pretty poor because she always wore like his oversized undershirts.
Yeah, and they were all sweat stained and stuff too, they say. And then so Dennis, the main character's brother, has a lot of mental issues. So I think that is also part of the reason that Jamie became an outcast, was because he was having to look after his brother and stuff. And then,
Well, and his dad was an alcoholic too,
yeah,
and that didn't
yeah,
help.
and his mom was too. They were both
Yeah.
addicts, and
Yeah.
his dad was abusive. And a bunch of kids used to call Clay like Skullface because he had the white around his eyes and stuff. And so yeah, so it's this group of outcasts.
Jamie hasn't been home in a long time, but Dennis is still living at home with the mom, who's still alive.
Yeah.
Well, she's been alive. She passes away, and that's why Jamie goes home.
And she commits suicide.
Yes, and
She takes pills.
And Dennis is the one that finds her.
Yeah. And he lives in the house with her for a week, and the police find him walking down the road with no shirt and
He's just in his underwear.
Okay. Because when Jamie comes and sees him at the police station, he tells him, next time you walk like that, put some pants on first.
Yeah. And so I think...
And they talk about his feet are kind of a bloody mess because he's just been walking for so long.
Yeah.
Which reminded me of The Long Walk.
Yeah. Dennis is what, like 3 or 4 years younger than Jamie?
I don't know if they give an exact number, but he is younger.
Okay. Somewhere around in there, I think. So anyway, Jamie goes back home to...
Blackmouth.
Well, I mean, basically to figure out what he's going to do with Dennis.
Yeah.
Which is a horrible way to word it, but that's kind of how his attitude, like,
yeah.
What am I going to do with him now?
And we find out that he was not fired from his job, but kind of put on leave and forced to go to rehab. It was originally supposed to be for like a month, and it turned into 3 months. And then he has to attend AA meetings for 90 days, every single day.
Yeah, very heavy alcoholic.
Yeah, and he worked at construction or something where he had a big machine, and it was holding a vat, and the vat fell and broke.
Yeah.
And so he thought he was going to get fired for it because he was drunk and stuff, but the vat hadn't been inspected in 3 years, and he claimed to the lawyers that he was just hungover from the night before.
Yeah.
And so he kind of got let off with the rehab and stuff instead of just getting flat out fired.
Right. So, and I don't know if we ever really know what Mia does, which they haven't came back in the picture yet, but
yes, Mia's the movie maker.
Oh yeah, that's right. And then Clay is a counselor.
Yeah. I didn't really understand what he was. Like, I know he's a children's counselor.
I wasn't sure if I kind of got the impression he was more like a children's advocate, like, for court cases and stuff.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. It seemed to me like it was, like, legal.
But he's able to use his skin condition to kind of,
get kids to open up.
Right, so...
Because he talks about his skin condition and stuff, and it usually gets them to open up a little bit about themselves.
And he makes up goofy stories about why he looks the way he does to,
like
get some of the kids to open up.
Yeah, because like he says one morning he saw his face and his hands running around on the ceiling and stuff like that.
Yeah. So...
The tentacle story, though...
Yeah.
Kind of comes back later.
You want to tell the tentacle story?
So he says that... Is it a story? No, he says it's his earliest memory.
Yeah.
He says his earliest memory is like being in his mom's womb or whatever. Is that? Because I think he uses a different term.
I don't remember, but
maybe he says in utero.
I don't know.
But anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm being pedantic. But he says that when he was a baby, still like a fetus, still inside of his mom, he has a memory of a tentacle worming its way up in there and trying to, I think, strangle him. And he managed to pry it off with his hands, and that's when he was born to the world. But where it touched his face and his hands is where the vitiligo started.
Yeah. And
then it spread from there.
Yeah. Which I think he told that to like a 14 or 15-year-old boy that wasn't wanting to talk to him. So.
But the way he tells it, it seems like that's like a real memory he has, but like he doesn't know if it's real or if it's just something he made up when he was a kid. Because he says it's a story I used to tell people.
Yeah.
I think
he made it up as a kid. Cause
that
comes back a little bit later, them talking about making up things as kids.
I know, but we get a part later where Jamie's talking about something happening and he talks about the same kind of tentacle.
Oh.
I think it's when he's down in the tunnels.
See, I didn't get... Oh, yeah, that's true. I didn't make that connection, but yeah, that's true. So... Dennis is kind of like a big, lovable just
teddy bear.
I mean, he's like my favorite character in the whole story,
Yeah.
and I really like Dennis.
And it took me a long time to realize, because he really likes the Ninja Turtles, and it took me a long time to realize the reason he likes the Ninja Turtles is because of that turtle he has as a kid, and he goes into his turtle shell.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't.
Well, they don't really explain that until later in the book either.
I know, but I didn't really put that together until, because they talk about him going to his turtle shell and stuff, and then we get to the part where he puts the red mask on, and that was when I finally was like, oh, it's
Right.
yeah, that's what made me think of it.
So why don't you explain what you're talking about him going into his turtle shell?
So basically, whenever Jamie and Dennis were kids, Jamie would always disappear. Like he found places to hide and avoid his dad's wrath when his dad would come home drunk, basically. And Dennis would not go hide somewhere, but he would retreat within himself. Like he would kind of like disassociate
and kind of like get into the fetal position physically,
yes.
like kind of curl up
yeah.
into himself.
Yeah. And he had a pet turtle,
mm-hmm.
and that's kind of where the comparison comes from.
Yeah, and that's what Jamie says, is that Dennis was fascinated by the turtle shell, and so he figured out a way to go into his own shell. And so, I mean...
And so even now, Dennis, as like an adult, still is obsessed with the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah. And so, Jamie...
I will say,
Jamie
too...
is out of rehab, but he has the AA meetings every day. Go ahead.
Another thing I like about this book is there's almost nothing in this book that isn't foreshadowed or paid off. It feels like almost every single plot point that, or like even like little things that you almost forget about that happen throughout the book play into something later.
Yeah. And there's no, I mean, the same thing you're saying, but there's no like dead scenes. Like, you know what I mean? Like, there's no scenes where you're like, why did we even have to have this in the book?
Well, and like there's certain things that I could see people say like, oh, well, like him going into all this stuff about what happened at work, is that really necessary to the story? Not really, but it does set up a reason that he was in rehab and was going to AA and stuff.
And I think it shows how bad his addiction is.
Yeah.
So...
Well, we know someone in real life that showed up to work drunk and had to go to rehab.
Yeah.
So...
So Jamie leaves his... Well, he's not working, but he leaves home, and I think it's, like 2 or 3 hours away. It's not super far away, but close enough he could drive.
Yeah.
And so because he gets a call from the sheriff, and he didn't even know that his mom had passed away. Like, nobody knew that his mom had passed away until they found Dennis.
Because, like we said, Dennis was just living in the house with her for like a week.
Right, and Dennis didn't have the mental capacity to call somebody and say, hey, this happened. And so... He's not like
nonverbal or anything, though.
Right.
He does talk.
Right. And so Jamie goes to the police station because they've kept Dennis there because they didn't know what else to do with him. And they've got him in his cell, but the door's open, and it's not like he's a prisoner. It's just they didn't have anywhere else to put him. But the sheriff tells Jamie that when he picked him up, Dennis kept saying, she is now dead.
Yeah.
And throughout the whole book, we think he's talking about his mom.
Yeah.
So I've talked a lot, so I'll let you jump in.
So, do we want to go back and talk about what happened to them as kids and then go more into what's happening to them as adults?
Yeah, we can do that.
Instead of trying to like swap back and forth and getting all jumbled up.
Yeah.
So, when they were kids, they were kind of hanging out at a fair that was in town. And some people were picking on Clay and ended up like giving a black eye and stuff.
They took his hat and they were teasing him with his hat, and then the main bully,
I think his name's Tom,
punching him a couple times.
And
which was really sad because they'd really been looking forward to going to the carnival, and they hadn't even got to ride any rides yet, and they left because of this bully.
Yeah. And I think that Jamie has the broken arm at this point. His dad broke his arm.
Does he?
I think he mentions here he has the broken arm.
Okay. I didn't think he did.
Maybe he doesn't.
I didn't... maybe
the broken arm is brought up at some point early and then comes back later.
Right, but
I don't know if it's here.
I don't know if he had it because would he be able to ride rides?
I don't see why not.
Okay. I don't know. Anyway.
Especially, like, it's... I mean, how old are they in the book? Like, it would have been...
Yeah.
Before a lot of the safety procedures we have now were really in place or followed. True. And also, when the local fair comes into town here, how strict are their safety guidelines?
I guess I'm thinking more like Six Flags or
Island
or something. Okay, so They decide without even, well,
We need to talk about the house first. Jamie's at home, and him and Dennis are in their room, and Dennis is looking out the window, and this is like, I think a little bit before the fair came into town, right? Is that right?
I don't know. I don't remember.
So Dennis
There's
is
a lot
looking out
to
the
this story,
yeah.
so
It's like what?
400 and some page book.
Yeah, like 450 pages. So we're probably gonna forget stuff or leave stuff out, but I encourage you to read this because I really liked it. But so Dennis is staring out the window, and Jamie realizes he can see a light in the barn. So he ends up going out to the barn to see what's going on out there, and he finds a one-eyed, homeless-looking person out there. But he's wearing, I think, is he wearing the top hat at this point when he's in the barn?
I think so.
So he looks homeless, but he's wearing a top hat, and
he set a fire in the barn. Not like set a fire, but like
Yeah,
a fire
yeah.
to get warm by, not like set the barn on fire.
and he's got a glass eye, right? He doesn't have an eye patch; it's a glass eye here.
Maybe.
I think so.
Anyway,
I don't know.
but it's rainy and cold out.
Yeah, and the guy ends up asking for food basically, and Jamie asks about his eye, and he says, "I'll tell you the story later about what happened to his eye." But he never does.
We find out. Well, he doesn't.
He doesn't. I know, that's what I'm saying. He never actually tells them later.
Yeah.
Someone else does though. But what was I? Oh, so he goes and gets the guy some like fried chicken and stuff, and the guy eats it, and then the guy says like, "I'll see you again in the future." And I think does he show him a magic trick here? Okay,
I don't think so.
I didn't think so.
Yeah, he does. He does the coin, doesn't he? The coin in his pocket, or is that later?
I think that's later.
Okay. It's been a couple weeks since I read this one, so
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
So Jamie ends up, I think, just going back to his room, and then Dennis basically just stands at the window all night looking out at even after Jamie says, "Yeah, there's a guy out there, but he's harmless."
Yeah.
And so anyway, so back to when they're at the fair, Clay has been beat up and all that, and they end up walking down towards like the Blackmouth area, like where the mines and stuff are.
Yeah, Clay's gonna leave, and he tells me and Jamie they can stay, and they're like, "Well, no, we didn't really want to come anyway." Like just that, friendship type stuff. So.
And Dennis isn't with them. Dennis was left at home. And
which I think is kind of, I mean, a lot of times in books like this, I think that makes this a little bit different, because a lot of times in books like this, it's like the younger brother always has to tag along and has to be, so I liked that it was a little bit different with this one.
Yeah. And so
they decided to head to Blackmouth, is what you
yes.
just said.
And they end up in the woods. They end up finding like a tent and stuff set up, and they run into the same guy that was in the barn earlier.
They find the rabbit.
Yeah, that's what they find first. You're right, because he leads them there.
They found
a rabbit nailed to a tree,
tied
up.
Yeah.
Yeah, like hung, and it's dead.
Yeah.
And then he takes them back to his camp, right?
And so they're standing there looking at the rabbit, trying to figure out who could have done it or what was going on. And the what do they call him? The magician?
Yeah.
Is that what they call him?
The magician or the magic man. There was different names that they called him depending on.
He shows up.
Yeah.
And he's kind of accusing the kids of having done something to the rabbit.
Yeah.
He's like, "Let me take you back to my camp and I can show you something."
I wonder who did that to the rabbit.
I think he did.
No, because he can't hurt living things. Because the one guy says he used to pay him to kill the cats.
True. I didn't think about that. That's a good point. So I don't know.
I don't know either. But, and maybe...
I don't really know if we get that it was gutted or anything, though. So if he
it just says it's hanging.
So if he hung it and it just died naturally, like starvation or something.
But is that natural? Like, because he still intervened to get it in there.
I don't know.
So it might have been, because, there's snare traps. Maybe someone just had a snare trap out in the woods, like...
Oh, that's true,
and
too.
it got the rabbit.
Yeah.
Anyway, there's a dead rabbit, and they end up taking it back, and he pulls out, like, I think it's a black cloth. And Mia says, "I recognize that. That's a death shroud," because she's really obsessed with, like, gore and death and that kind of stuff. And I don't think it's like, it's not in like a serial killer way.
Right.
It's just like something that fascinates her.
Right.
And so the magic man puts like the death shroud over the rabbit, and whenever he pulls it off, the rabbit's back alive again and hops off.
Mm-hmm.
And so the kids are asking him how he did that and stuff, and he ends up showing them a different magic trick instead.
He starts with, I think this might be the coin.
I think so.
Or it's in his pocket.
Yeah.
And he starts by teaching them card tricks.
Yes. And so he then starts, like, they start coming out to him, like, basically weekly or daily or something to learn magic from him.
But they have a deal with him. They are, because he asks them if they want to be his apprentices.
Yes.
And they say yes, but he tells them you can't bring anybody out. Like, it's only you three. You can't bring
Yeah,
anybody
and you can't tell anyone else about me.
Yeah. So Clay pretty much picks things up pretty quick. Jamie struggles with some of them. Mia's kind of mediocre, I guess.
Yeah. I think Mia's good at the tricks, but Clay is better with the sleight of hand stuff.
Gotcha. And then Jamie's just kind of a klutz.
Yeah. And they talk about how Clay always wears, like, long sleeves and stuff to kind of cover up, like, the Vita logo up his arms and stuff. But the Magic Man kind of gives a confidence and says your hands are distracting enough that, like, that'll just add to the misdirection.
Yeah.
And so he starts wearing short sleeve shirts and stuff and has a little bit more self-confidence.
Yeah. And that's sad as a kid to think you have to cover up who
Yeah,
you are.
yeah.
I mean, which I get it, kids are mean, but I don't know. So, I mean, what'd you tell me the other day? So a third grader told your sister she had pink, blonde, and brown hair?
Yeah.
She needs to dye her roots again. And this
Yeah.
third grader was, oh, well, you have pink, blonde, and brown hair. This is not the look she was going for. So kids can be, you know.
Oblivious.
But, yeah. So eventually they end up, the Magic Man ends up talking about,
The well.
thank you. I can't remember what it was called. The well.
Yeah.
And how, like,
To get real magic,
yeah.
he's just teaching them illusions. To get real magic, he has to take them to the well.
Yeah. And so then at one point, Jamie and Dennis are at home, and the argument between their mom and dad gets really bad. And Jamie ends up taking Dennis with him
To go see the Magic Man.
to go see the Magic Man. And the Magic Man's kind of upset at first, but he's like, Jamie kind of blows Dennis off and is like, just go sit over on that log and, you know, because Dennis is kind of oblivious to what's going on.
Yeah.
He seems like he's oblivious to what's going on around.
And somewhere in here, Jamie goes with his dad. I think this is after he breaks his arm.
It is.
His
'cause
dad.
this is his way of making up to him.
Yeah, his dad takes him out with him, and they go visit like I think they say she's a teen girl.
She's pretty young.
Yeah.
But his dad is a mechanic.
Yeah.
So she's having trouble with her car, so he goes out there to work on her car, and he makes Jamie go with him, which was the weirdest thing.
And so the woman is breastfeeding her baby, and it's like this young baby, and it makes Jamie very uncomfortable. And even to the point when we have parts in the future, we actually hear about this before we figure out where the like idea came from. When he's in rehab and he's hallucinating and he has a seizure that makes him hallucinate, he imagines her under the bed and like grabbing at him and stuff.
But we find out there's more to it than that.
Yes. This story is told out of order, but it makes sense.
Yeah. So
everything kind of builds off of each other.
Yeah. So back to them being with the Magic Man, which what you just said is important later on.
Yeah.
But back to them being with the Magic Man. Dennis just kind of throws his whole vibe off. Like he can't really do his tricks when Dennis is there, and I don't know why.
He just seems uncomfortable.
Yeah, and I like he's so focused on Dennis, he can't focus on what he's supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
So is this when they kind of to the part where they start the fire, right?
Yeah.
So it's kind of like this all summer long they're spending with the Magic Man,
and I do want to say, Dennis picks up on the tricks really quick. Like, can see it once and replicate it perfectly.
Yeah.
But he does it in a very, like, mechanical way.
Yeah.
Like, he doesn't have the flourish.
Yeah.
And, like, there's one trick where they put balls under the cups, and you're supposed to mix them around, and he never really actually moves the cups. He just kind of picks them up and down.
Yeah.
And kind of shakes them or whatever.
I kind of picture them like being on the table and him just kind of moving his hand,
Yes,
like not even picking
yeah.
them up, but just kind of.
And that's
his
what I mean.
hands
I don't
on
mean
the
like
top of them.
physically picking them up. Yeah, just kind of moving them just a
Yeah.
bit. But every time the ball is not under any of the cups.
Yeah.
And that comes back
And when
later.
the magician showed the kids how to do that trick, Dennis wasn't there. Well, then when he tried to do it when Dennis was there, he kept screwing it up.
Yeah.
But Dennis could do it.
Yeah.
You know. And so they get to the clearing where his tent is one day, and everything's packed up.
Yeah.
And so the magician is there, and he tells them, and when we say magic man and magician, we're talking about the same person.
Yes,
Obviously,
yeah.
There's only one person. But he's got all of his stuff packed up, and he says he's ready to take somebody to the well. And so again, this is all throughout the book. Like, we
keep getting flashbacks.
Yeah, we're gonna give some stuff away right now that happens pretty late in the book, but this just makes sense for a timeline, or for us talking about it. So he has a dagger, and we've seen the dagger a couple times before.
Yeah, it was in his boot, and the very first time Jamie interacts with him in the barn, he sees it.
Yeah.
So he has it the whole time.
Yeah. So he tells Jamie that if Jamie wants to be able to go to the well, he has to stab Dennis.
Yes, but he'll bring him back like he did the rabbit.
Yes.
But he'll be complete.
Normal.
Yeah, I think. Yeah.
I hate to use that word.
No, but he uses that word. He uses something like that. Like I think he'll be like us, essentially, is what he says.
Yeah.
And so this part was kind of confusing to me. Does he actually stab Dennis here?
He does.
That's what I thought.
Yes, he does, but barely.
Yeah, that's what I thought. It's
not enough to, like, I think he punctures his skin, but it's not like a full-on.
Because he says, I think there's a scene where he, like, pushes it all the way in, but then you kind of realize he was imagining that, and in reality he just kind of barely breaks the skin, but there's still blood on the knife. Because they mentioned blood on the knife, and that's when I was kind of confused of whether what actually
But it was just, I mean, his t-shirt was soaked with a little bit soaked with blood, but it wasn't. Like, I'm just picturing, like, maybe not, I mean, half an inch in.
Yeah.
And I'm picturing Dennis as kind of like a overweight teddy bear, kind of like you said. So, like, I don't think with what he did, he would have damaged anything.
Well, you haven't read of Mice or Men, but he reminds me a lot of, is his name Lenny from Mice and Men? I think his name's Lenny.
I always think of Wonder Pets when you say Lenny.
I don't even remember Wonder Pets.
You don't remember Wonder Pets?
No, like, I remember what it looks like, but I can't, like, tell you any specifics, like, names or anything.
Sorry. So the whole time that Jamie has the knife and is gonna kill Dennis, the magic man is just encouraging this on and on and on and on and on. Well, then when Jamie stops, he's like, okay, you guys basically aren't worthy enough to go to the well.
Yeah.
And I think Mia is like, no, give me the knife, I'll do it.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, something about it has to be family or something. Like, somehow they have to be related, or
I don't know.
I don't remember. But anyway, so the magic man, convinces them to set the forest on fire around the mines.
Yes.
And they burn the whole forest down.
Yes.
And the lady that we just saw with the baby, which I don't remember her name, but the baby's name is Miles. Her trailer is by the woods, and it kills her. The fire kills her and baby Miles.
Yes.
And so that's where nightmares with her, I think, play back into.
Yes. And all three of the kids end up in juvie.
Yes.
Which it sounds like...
The boys are together.
Yeah. And then when they're out, like, Clay's family moves away, but Jamie's family stays in town.
And Mia's family moves away.
Yes.
I don't know if I think her uncle moves away with her.
I think so.
She doesn't come back.
Yeah.
Is the point of it.
And...
But then things get even harder for Jamie. Because everybody in the town sees him as a murderer.
Yeah.
And we find out that
Yeah.
that Miles is actually Jamie's half brother.
Yeah.
That the dad is not Miles' dad.
And like Jamie knew that before the fire. Like he didn't know the fire was gonna kill them, but one night his dad was drunk and said like, "I knocked her up" or something like that, and then
it was after they died.
no, he says that before, because after what he says is "You did me a solid. I don't have to pay her hush money anymore."
Right. That's right. Yeah. So
Which he says something about like, "I can't believe you murdered someone, but at least you did me a solid." Like he's like,
that is not a good guy.
No.
So that's pretty much basically it for their childhood.
Yeah.
There's a lot more detail in the story, obviously, than what we can say. And like I said before, it's flashbacks throughout the whole book. So, like, finding out that because you know that they've been in juvie pretty early on in the book, but you don't know why. And so this all kind of comes about later. But so then let's go back to when they're adults, and I'll let you.
Yes. So where do we leave off when they were adults? Dennis.
Jamie was at the police station with Dennis.
Okay. So that kind of happens, and we kind of have these stories happening parallel to each other. And so we get a chapter that's about Mia. And we find out that she's kind of like she kind of makes experimental horror films, is kind of what I got.
She's a director.
Yeah. But I got that they were kind of indie and not...
Yeah.
Like, kind of playing like backroom theaters and stuff. Like, they're not like big blockbusters. That's what I was trying to say. And one night she's out behind a building where they're showing one of her movies, or doing like a premiere or something, and she's out there smoking a joint when a lady comes up to her, and what do they call her? Sunshine?
I don't remember.
I don't know. I think she says her name is Sunshine though, when Mia asks her. But Mia's talking to her, and the girl claims to like be a fortune teller and stuff. And at first, Mia thinks it's like something she's doing for money, but she's like, "No, I won't take money for it. That's bad juju." And then she tells Mia that whatever she's running from is about to catch up to her. So Mia ends up coming back to Blackmouth.
No. Mia takes the picture and sends it to Jamie.
You're right.
Clay. So Mia happened to be at a fair or carnival or something and snapped a picture, and it's kind of a blurry picture, but it looks like the magician from their childhood. And this has been what, like 20 years ago, when he would have been...
Yeah, because I think
15 or 20, somewhere in there.
Because this book came out in 20...
No, I'm not talking about the book. I'm talking about the difference in their ages.
I know, but when did this book come out?
I don't know, 2024.
Okay. And I think the flashbacks happened in like 1985.
So 40 years ago.
Right.
I don't know when the book came out. I don't know. You have to look. But anyway, so she sees him at a carnival and takes a picture of him and sends it to Jamie and Clay, and is like, hello, blast from the past.
So the book came out in 2022. And Sunshine Devil Girl is what they call her. But the 1998 are when the flashbacks take place.
24 years.
So anyway.
So Clay and Mia show up in Blackmouth.
Yeah.
And they don't know that Jamie's there.
But Clay has a friend because he does the stuff with children. Before he goes to Blackmouth, he goes and talks to that other girl first, right?
About what?
The one that murdered her best friend. That's before he comes to Blackmouth.
Yeah. So he's not really convinced that it's the same magician.
But he sends the picture to a friend he has that I don't know if he says exactly what organization she's in or what, but basically she can track people from photos through like databases and stuff like that. So he sends her the photo, and when she gets back to him, she says the program had a hard time getting down his facial features. It's almost like it was changing.
Mm-hmm. Which Jamie had said that when they were kids, that it looked like the magician's face changed.
Yeah, he said it looked like there was a face behind a face.
And that's the other thing we didn't talk about. So when they are leaving the woods after they set it on fire, Jamie is chasing the magician, and when he looks back, Jamie says he doesn't even have a face.
Yeah.
Um. So anyway, do you want to talk about the other girl that murdered her best friend that you just mentioned?
So there's a girl, and I don't remember where she's at, but it's like the next town over from where the fair was where Mia saw the guy. And I think they're 11 years old. It's her and her best friend, and they were going out the woods and learning from this guy. And
which this is where I told you it kind of tells into Slenderman, which ties
yes,
into Tall Man that we
yes.
talked about before.
And she ends up stabbing the guy, and then stabbing her best friend. And then the police find no trace of the guy or any trace that there was actually a man living in the woods, so they just think she's kind of insane.
And it's the same story that we had from our main kids before, that he was going to take her to the well if she murdered somebody that was important. It must not be family because of the best friend, but like it had to be somebody important to you.
I don't know about that because he might say family. Because now that you say that...
That's why Miles died.
Yeah. Not only that, though... Spoilers. This magician here is not the magician. It's the guy that killed his twin brother. So for him, the one he does isn't family. But every single one we know of that the magician did was family.
Gotcha. That's true. Okay. Go ahead.
Where was I at?
We were talking about the girl that killed her best friend.
Yes, so they went out in the woods, and she did this. The same thing happened to her, except she went through with it with that knife, and then they could not recover that knife. They never found it. And so Clay comes and talks to her, and she describes the exact man they saw as kids, with the eye patch and everything. And so I think the first time when Jamie meets him in the barn, he has the glass eye, but every subsequent time he's wearing the eye patch when they see him. I think.
I don't remember.
But anyway, so that they bring up the Slender Man story when they're talking about this murder because they're like, they don't believe that the man's real, and it's just like within they were trying to become proxies for Slenderman.
Right.
That kind of thing. They think she was making it up,
right,
essentially. But Clay goes to the lawyer of the girl. Well, she actually calls him because he went and contacted the family and then talked to the little girl.
He went and asked the parents for permission to go talk to the girl.
Yeah.
Which, with him being a counselor like he is, I think that gave him an in to be able to go talk to her.
Yeah. And it almost is like fate the way their jobs lined up perfectly for them to get the information they needed.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Yeah.
Which I think people could say like, oh, well, it's just the writer being lazy and like writing an easy way for. But I think it's set up well, and I think it makes sense, and the characters, it fits what the characters would do.
Right.
So Clay goes to the girl of the lawyer calls Clay.
No, the lawyer of the girl.
That's what I said.
You said the girl of the lawyer.
Okay, the lawyer of the girl calls Clay and is like, hey, why were you talking to them and stuff? And he ends up spilling the beans on the whole story of like when they were kids. And she goes, that could be like an opening for us and could help us. And she is a little ticked, though, because he did show the girl the photo of the guy.
Yeah.
And she says that can ruin, like, a lineup, because now she's seen a picture.
Yeah.
And now she's, like, biased, essentially.
Yeah. And at some point in here, and I don't remember who he goes to, I don't know if it's the lawyer that's helping them, but somebody starts looking for similar cases. They start to figure out that this fair is important, this carnival is important, and so they start looking for cases where this fair has traveled around.
Yeah.
And is that the lawyer that's helping them dig into that?
I think so.
Okay. So, again, out of order, obviously, but it's just the easiest way to tell this story. So they start to figure out that there have been more.
Yeah. And Mia kind of seems like she thinks it's fate at the beginning. That they all came back to the town at the same time. But Clay is very dismissive of anything being supernatural.
Yeah.
He thinks there's a logical...
Kinda is too.
I think he's more in the middle, which I think is why it's good that we follow him, because he's kind of a skeptic, but...
Yeah.
He kind of rides the line.
Yeah.
And then Dennis, you can't really get a read on how he feels about it. But...
And we didn't talk about... So, when Jamie gets back to town and he picks Dennis up, he actually takes Dennis home to get some things because he says he's not staying in the house.
He says it's haunted.
And
When he says that, I don't think he means it literally.
Right.
I think when he's saying that, he's haunted by the memories of his dad and his mom.
Like ghosts of his past.
Yeah.
Type thing. But when they're there, like, he is just taken aback by how run down the house is.
Yeah.
And
there's holes in the wall.
And, like, the front steps are rotted out. And he's, you know. And I think the barn's even collapsed, right?
No. It hasn't collapsed, but it's rotting.
So they don't stay there. They get a hotel room. So I just want to throw that out there.
Yeah.
And so now we've got our team together. And so when Mia and Clay show up, they get a...
And I do want to say, we said that he was, that Jamie was doing rehab and then he was in AA for a while. When he got the call that his mom was dead and Dennis was at the police station and stuff, he went and bought a bottle of alcohol. And now he's consistently been drinking alcohol throughout the story.
Yeah, and he has I guess in AA you have kind of a partner, like a person
to hold you responsible.
Not really a sponsor because they're going through it too, but somebody that...
Well, I think a lot of times sponsors have done it before too.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I got the impression this girl that was his kind of partner or, you know, friend type person was going through the program with him too.
But I don't know if that was a thing where it's literally like you could assign a partner. It sounds like she just gave him his number and they made a pact between the two of them. They'll keep each other going.
So she's been trying to get a hold of him this whole time. Yeah. So
that's like the only plot line I feel like didn't really add anything to the story and probably could have been cut. Is her.
But isn't there a reason why? Because we find out later on she wasn't calling to check on him. She was calling because she needed help.
Yeah. And then nothing really comes of that.
Okay.
Except for at the end it says that her and the guy she called... Because basically it turns out she fell off the wagon, so she calls him drunk and stuff when he finally answers his phone. And he ends up calling another guy that attends AA because she gives him his number and says, hey, can you go check on her? So he does. And then at the end of the story, he says that they all have started hanging out together. But that's it. Like, I feel like it didn't really add anything to the story. Like, it kind of broke up the flow, in my opinion. Like, when that happens, it kind of just breaks up the flow.
Yeah, I can see that. But I think it shows... I think maybe it shows character growth for Jamie. Because he ignored her for so long, and then all of a sudden, like, he actually cared that she was trying to get a hold of him. I don't know.
I guess. I don't know.
So anyway, when Clay and Mia get to town, they all get... I don't know if you guys have ever stayed in a hotel or a motel that's got, like, the connecting doors, but... Basically, it's a motel, 2 rooms with a connecting door between them that they can open. And so...
And one thing that kind of comes up a bit, but it's not really super important, but Jamie's first crush was Mia.
Yeah.
And so he kind of has a thing for Mia, and Mia knows it, and she kind of makes fun of him for it.
Because she's lesbian.
Yeah.
I like her character, though. I really like
I like all the characters.
I think she's she's just like one of the guys. Like, she just, I don't know.
I don't know. I think Clay was my favorite character.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
I think Dennis is my favorite.
I know. I like Dennis. I like all the characters, but...
So, Clay and Mia leave to go do something, and I can't remember what they leave to do. But Jamie gets drunk and passes out in the bathroom.
Yeah.
And he had left Dennis watching Ninja Turtles. Well, he wakes up to Clay shaking him, or Mia, I think it's Mia, and she's like, what the hell are you doing?
Where's Dennis?
Dennis is gone.
Yeah.
And they finally find him walking down the same road he was on before in nothing but his underwear again, saying she is now dead.
Yeah. And when I don't know if it's here when he talks to him, but when Jamie's talking to him at some point, he says, we know Mom's dead. He says, no, not Mom.
Yeah.
I think that's at the police station he says that, but then he doesn't elaborate. But then later he elaborates and says he saw a girl die in his waking dream.
Yes. And so the girl that you talked about earlier, when they have a newspaper article about her, he says she is now dead. And he actually was talking about the
girl that murdered her best friend.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can talk. I'll shut up for a minute.
So doesn't he end up leading them into like a trail? And that's where they find stuff.
That's out behind the girl's house.
So
Remember?
when does that happen?
Probably somewhere around here.
Because I thought that was when he disappeared. Is he leads them there? Because they find him walking and they just keep following him.
He disappear twice? Because he disappears once and he's I thought he was walking on the dirt. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think you're wrong. I don't think he's in his underwear again. I think he just left and walked.
So
because they pass a guy and the guy says, "Yeah, he went that way. He didn't seem like he was all there." So they go and follow him, and I don't know if they find a cave or what.
He was behind. There was 2 different times because this time they get back. Well, the second time, the girl's dad that murdered her best friend calls and says, "Hey, the guy that was with you earlier is in our backyard."
Okay.
And so they end up in the woods out behind her house. And Dennis is kind of in a trance. Like, he won't answer anybody. He's just kind of walking this trail.
So they end up following him, and they find a flyer for the fair that came through town, and that's when they kind of connect the dots that this guy probably travels with the fair.
Yeah.
And one thing that they mention when they take when they have the photo for Mia, he looks the same age in that photo than he did when they were kids.
Right.
I don't know if we said that.
I don't think so, but yes.
So the lawyer is kind of like, that's the hiccup, because they said that when they were a kid they thought he was in his 30s, and the girl now that murdered her best friend says he looked like he was in his 30s.
Yeah. So, is this where they crawl into the cave?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's where they find the flyer.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So, where they find the flyer, Dennis ends up going into this cave and Jamie goes after him.
But it's not like he's going after to stop him. They're kind of just following him to see where he goes.
Yeah. But there's really nothing in the cave. They hit a dead end.
But that's where they find the flyer.
Right, but other than that, they don't really find anything else.
Yeah. So at some point in here, we get the other guy. I don't remember his name.
What other guy?
The guy with the cleft palate.
Oh, crap. I don't remember his name either.
I'll look. I don't know exactly when we're first introduced to him, but the first time we're introduced to him is whenever he gets fired.
Yeah.
Because he's a janitor.
See, I thought he was like factory work. Oh no, he is a janitor. I completely forgot about him being in the story. So he has anger issues, and he
Stoll. Wayne Lee Stoll.
Yep, that's it. That's him. So he has some major anger issues.
Yes.
And he's kind of just thrown in the middle of the book, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
What's he got to do with anything? But like you said,
they start running that photograph on the news and asking for people for information about the guy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
The lawyer sets that up.
That's right. So, but like you said, when we first meet him, he's working as a janitor, but he's getting fired. And
yes,
I never got. Well, yes, I did, because they say it. But anyway, so for a long time, we don't really know what's wrong with his face. I don't want to use that terminology, but what deformity he has. But he just keeps talking about how
he thinks he's getting fired because people are creeped out by his face.
Yeah. And so he wears masks all the time.
Yes.
To hide his face.
Yeah. What kind of masks are they? Latex? Is that what they say?
Yeah.
And so and
he actually glues them on, like that's like a mouthpiece that he glues onto his face.
But it's not like permanent glue, because he talks about later how he doesn't like wearing the glue in the rain, or he puts a hat on when he's wearing a mask in the rain because it'll melt the glue away. Yeah. So it's like wash off stuff.
Yeah.
But it makes him appear more normal, I guess. I don't want to use that term, but
it's normal, but yeah. But I mean, there's even one point where he talks about he's got his hood up, but you can see the side of it, and it freaks out a little kid because he can tell that it's a mask on.
I thought that was because he could see his eyes behind the eye holes in the mask.
Oh, I don't.
Like you could tell it was a mask because of the eye holes. I don't know. Anyway, so he is mad at his boss and is like, "You're only firing me because of the way I look." And there's also a lawyer there, and the lawyer is like being very careful about the language they use.
Yeah.
And is like, "That's not the reason we're firing you. Other people have gotten fired too," and stuff. And is trying to dance around it and not admit to that, because if they say that, he could sue.
Right.
But he does end up getting fired, and so he ends up getting like a bucket of bleach, or like a
I hated this scene.
like a jug of bleach. That's the word I was looking for. And Jeff the Killer, that story is so dumb, but they call it a thing of bleach. That is the term that's used in the story. Is
Oh
a
my
thing of
gosh.
bleach. Like they couldn't even look up to see if
Jeez.
it was called a jug. Anyway, he gets a jug of bleach, and he goes to his boss's house and blinds his dog.
Yeah, he pours the bleach in his eyes.
Yeah.
Ugh. And that's pretty much all we know about him right now.
Yeah. I do think, I don't know if we see it here, but he does end up seeing the thing on the news, and he is one of the people that the magician groomed. I don't know if that's the right term.
Well,
but...
he called the lawyer and said, he calls the lawyer and
Yes.
says, hey,
Yeah, but I'm saying he sees that picture on the news,
Yeah.
and that's what
So maybe this is where they start looking for more people.
it might be.
Um,
Because that flyer is what makes them make the fair connection.
yeah. So what's next?
So where were we at with the main three?
Yeah, they just found the flyer.
Okay. So they kind of, again, Clay's trying to like kind of rationalize everything, and I think Mia starts to kind of try to rationalize stuff too as being mundane. Like I think they kind of all get to that point. But now that happened with Dennis, they kind of think Dennis has some kind of connection.
Yeah.
And the book leaves it ambiguous a lot over whether or not there's actually magic.
Yeah.
And I like that about it.
Yeah.
Because you could go with either interpretation.
Mm-hmm.
But, do they end up going back to the house?
Eventually. There's some extra stuff that goes on, but... Well, no, they don't go to the house till they go to the fair, do they?
I don't know. Oh, I think after they find the flyer, they end up seeing that the fair is about to come to Blackmouth again. Because it comes every year. Right?
I don't think it's in Blackmouth, is it? I thought it was like a town or two over.
It's like in their town.
Okay. I didn't think it was their town. I thought it was a little bit away, but...
I think it's coming to their town.
Okay.
But they go there early while it's being set up, and they kind of get shooed away.
Yeah.
But I don't know if they see it here or they come back later, but they see a tent that's, Patch? Is that his name?
Yeah. Patch the... And I don't even know what the last word means.
Yeah. But basically some kind of magician.
Yeah.
And so they think maybe that's their guy.
Yeah.
So they come back once, and it's, like, closed off, and so they can't go in. And so then they end up meeting up with Stoll at a restaurant.
Yes. Well, this may be, and see, we're jumping around, but this is when they go to meet him, and this is when Dennis gets out.
Okay.
Because Jamie passes out. Because
Okay.
it's only me and Clay that go meet him.
So they go to meet him, and he kind of tells his story. And his story is that his brother disappeared into the woods and was always talking about that guy. And then one day he disappeared, so he told his mom about the guy. So him and his mom went into the woods to try and find him, and they found him gutted. And that's his story. Which, from the dog thing, and even from the way the guy just acts, you know that's not true.
Right. And do we know yet that the magician doesn't kill people? Like, he can't physically do it?
No, because Patch tells him that.
Oh my gosh.
And they don't talk to Patch until after this. But, he does end up showing them, like, his cleft palate, and he seems, like... Because I think this chapter is from his point of view. And he kind of takes a liking to Clay because they have similar... They both have, like, a... deformity? Is that the term?
I mean, his is. I don't know if you'd call Clay's that, but close enough. I mean...
Yeah.
And
An abnormality.
We're not being disrespectful of people with deformities or...
Abnormalities.
What's the V word? But
Vitiligo.
Vitiligo. I never remember how to say that.
I've heard people say it vitiligo, and I've heard people say it vitiligo, so I don't know which one is right, but I've always just said vitiligo. Okay. So he does not like Mia. And from the like get-go, he kind of reads that she's lesbian, and he doesn't like that, and he uses derogatory terms towards her in his head.
Yeah.
And he just is like a terrible person.
Yeah.
And do we find out about what he does yet, or is that not till later? The knives.
I think that's later.
Okay. So they end up meeting with him, but he makes Clay and her and Mia very, very uncomfortable. And I think
especially Mia. Like Mia
Yeah.
just has this sensor like this dude is
yeah,
wrong.
but Mia emphasizes it's not because of his abnormality.
Yeah.
Because she does not want Clay to think that that's
Right.
why she has a problem with him. But Clay agrees that he seemed off
Yeah.
and like creepy. And so they kind of decide they're not really gonna tell him anything. Because they've decided that instead of turning everything over to the police all the time, they're still turning stuff over to them, but they're also doing their own investigation essentially.
Yeah.
So they don't tell them about the fair connection or that they're going to check out the fair and like patch and all that.
Right.
But then they end up going back to the fair while Patch is performing.
Mm-hmm.
So they all three get into his performance.
No. Only Dennis stays outside with Clay. Because remember, they see the magician outside and Dennis goes after him.
I didn't think that was outside. I thought they were all in the tent when that happened.
Mm-mm.
Okay.
No, only Mia and Jamie go into the performance. But
But
when they
it's
get in
not-
there, they're disappointed because
it's
it's
not
not
the
their
guy.
magician.
And the performance that the magician gives is kind of like a kid's performance. Like
Yeah.
it's not.
I was picturing like a magician at a kid's birthday party kind of type performance.
But after it's over, there was like an assistant to the magician, Patch. We'll just call him Patch. And so Mia goes up to her and says, "Hey, I'm making a documentary about circus people, essentially. I wanted to know if I could talk to your boss." And gives her like a business card to make it seem more legit, which is what I was saying earlier about they seem to all have like the perfect job to investigate this. And again, I could see how someone would say that was like lazy writing or something. I think it's well written, and I think it just makes it feel more like this could be magic, and like it feels kind of like fate, like destiny.
Well, it's not like with her they could have come up with a different life. She hadn't been in a movie.
Yeah.
I mean, she'd been in some other role, so it's not like it's a serial killer movie where there just happens to be a room full of axes hanging on the wall.
Yeah.
So I think it was very well done.
I agree. But so they end up talking to Patch, and while they're back there talking to him, they mention, yeah, was there like another guy that used to wear an eye patch that used to be part of this circus? We remember him from when we were kids. And the guy's like, oh, like, he thinks they're like messing with him at first. Because he's like, do you actually not know the story of that guy? And they're like, no, can you tell us? And he's like, I'm only telling you because I want to get in your Netflix special.
Which there is no Netflix special.
No.
So I'm going to interrupt you for a minute because while all of this is going on, Clay and Dennis are outside. And Clay gets distracted by the assistant because she's wearing this skippy little outfit. Well, when he turns around, Dennis is gone. And he's like halfway through the crowd. And so Jamie goes after him and figures out... Not Jamie, sorry. Clay goes after him and figures out that he is actually chasing after the magician. The magician, not Patch.
Yeah.
And they end up...
But we know... We don't think it's a magician. Do we? Because we get a chapter from Stoll's point of view, seeing Dennis, and he's like, why is he staring at me? And he uses a lot of derogatory terms for Dennis, too.
I forgot.
So then Dennis starts...
He's following them, too, so...
Dennis is chasing Stoll here.
Oh.
He sees Stoll through the crowd. But Stoll says there's no way he recognized me because he never met me.
Yeah. So they end up in the fun house, and they lose sight of him.
Yeah.
And one thing we didn't mention, which this is just, little detail, but there's only one hotel in this town, so Stoll is actually staying at the same hotel they are. But I feel like Dennis, like, he tells Clay something, and I feel like it was important, but I don't remember what it was. But anyway, so I just want to throw that out there. This is going on while they're talking to Patch.
So, we said he's obsessed with Ninja Turtles.
Mm-hmm.
And Jamie had bought him the 2014, Michael Bay CGI turtle movies. He bought him one of them.
no comment on those.
And Dennis started watching it, and he didn't like it because he said they're fake, they're not really there. He says the same thing here about the guy.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he tells Clay, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. Well, I kind of agree with Dennis. You can't beat the original Turtles.
The 90s, yeah. Did you know that first TMNT movie that came out in 1990? That was the highest grossing independent film of all time until Blair Witch came out.
Wow. I did not know that.
And a lot of people don't even know it's an independent film.
Huh. That's cool. Okay, so go back to them talking to Patch.
So they're talking to Patch, and Patch tells the story of the Magic Man. And I don't know if they even say his name.
I don't think so. They might, but if they do, I don't remember.
But basically, whenever Patch was like a teenager, he worked for the circus or carnival fair or whatever, and
he grew up there. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you're right, but he grew up there. Like, his parents ran.
Yeah.
He talks about how they started out with, I don't know, a game, and then they ended up owning a food truck that went with the carnival.
So, like this Magic Man guy, not Patch, but the original guy, the one that talked to our trio and apprenticed them or whatever. He did performances, and he ended up. He has a heart attack, but something happens before that leads to the heart attack, and it's something to do with his eye.
He somehow he gets stabbed in the eye, but I can't remember if something goes wrong during his performance.
I don't remember, but anyway, it leads to him losing an eye, and he has a heart attack, but he survives supposedly.
Yeah.
Because he later kind of says stuff like, "Oh, I came back. I made a deal with the devil."
Yeah.
And stuff like that. And again, it's left ambiguous on whether there's actually dark magic happening here or not. But
as far as they knew, like Patch, he said that the magician's tent was set up right across from their food truck. So when they took him in the ambulance, he was dead.
Yeah.
But
it could have been like his heart stopped.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Also, as a teenager, if somebody's not flailing around, you may automatically think they're,
or if his heart
gone.
stopped, you're like medically dead.
Right.
But they can bring you back. But so anyway, so once he came back, he did not have like the motor skills he used to have. So he can't do magic as well. So he kind of like dumbs down his act to be more and more for kids, until eventually he puts a sign out front that says like kids only, no one above 10 years old allowed. And the parents kind of like it because then they can go drink and stuff and just leave their kids there, kind of like a daycare thing while they're at the circus. Well,
sorry, but that wouldn't have flown when I was a mama. I mean, I'm still a mama, but when you were young.
This would have been like the 80s.
Yeah, I know, but...
But, you used to run down to the store and buy cigarettes for your mom. I mean, times change.
I know, but...
I
think I'd leave you with a creepy magician in a tent at a...
Well, there's other kids there and stuff. I mean, I'm not defending it because I don't think anyone should do that, but
I know, and it was a different...
I could see how people could rationalize it. But, our Patch, our guy that's telling the story, says he started to notice kids were always coming out crying. And the parents didn't really notice because, kids cry at the fair all the time and stuff, and kids are dramatic.
Right.
But he started connecting the dots. So one day he slipped in the performance to see what was going on, and he caught the Magic Man, like, holding a dead cat.
Mm-hmm.
And showing it to the kids. And I think he even says, like, I think he says the entrails weren't hanging out or anything. But the cat was dead.
Mm-hmm.
Like, kind of like the rabbit earlier in the story. And then he kind of reveals that he used to kill cats, like, that the Magic Man used to pay him to kill cats for his performance.
Yeah. And that is one thing about this book. Like, there's some pretty gruesome stuff, like the dog, blinding the dog and the dead cats, but it's not... This is in no way like a gruesome horror book.
No,
like,
it handles everything
what's
well.
the word? Like,
Gory?
Yeah, thank you. Like, it's not a gory horror book.
No.
It's enough to make you squirm, like when he's talking about blinding the dog, but it's not so graphic that,
Yeah.
I think it's the power of power of suggestion more than anything.
One thing we forgot to mention, Mia also tried to kill herself. I think it's when she was an adult. But I couldn't tell. I was kind of confused about that. It was sometime after the fire. But basically, she like slit up her arm,
Yeah.
and so she still has a scar from it. Well, since they've been back in town, Clay's eye has started to swell up again, like the black eye he had whenever he got punched at the fair when they were kids. Her arm started dripping blood again, where Clay had to like wrap a handkerchief around it and stuff. And the arm, which Jamie fell on it, I think when he was drunk, but the arm that he broke when he was a kid has started to hurt again.
No, yes, he was drunk, but it was I think it was the first night he was back in town when he took Dennis home to get close because he fell down the stairs.
Yeah. So he
And
says that arm started to hurt.
And that was his excuse when he was a kid when he broke his arm was, I fell down the stairs because he, you don't tell that your dad broke your arm. You do tell.
Yeah.
But, you didn't.
Abusers.
You didn't tell,
But, it's so cool because the old wounds are figuratively opening up in all of them because they're bringing up all these old memories and stuff. But at the same time, old wounds are literally opening up because it's like the black eye and his broken arm and her wrist and all that stuff is happening again.
And I think it's cool because Clay is a black man, and so like the black eye, which I know black people can get black eyes. I don't mean that, but like with him having the white skin around his eyes, like you can actually tell that it's...
Yeah, I don't know if we fully said this, but when he was a kid, it was just around his eyes and his mouth, but now it's literally like his whole head is like white.
It spreads.
Yeah. And it talks about kind of how it is on his whole body, and it goes into detail a little bit on how it looks on his genitals. And I told you that was a very Stephen King portion.
I thought you were talking more about Stoll's than his.
What? Oh. Well, yeah, it talks about that too, but I meant this part where it compares it to like a Twist ice cream.
Oh, yeah.
Where it's like the chocolate and white mixed together.
I was thinking more about the Stoll part later on.
About,
so anyway,
But Stephen King always has to bring up people's balls in his books.
Yeah. So did you finish Patch's story?
No.
Okay.
So, Patch tells him that he used to kill cats because the guy explains that when he made the deal with the devil to come back, like he would send the devil souls essentially, but he couldn't, like the devil has rules he has to follow. So it both sounds like he made a deal with the devil and he is the devil, depending on how he's talking. But basically he can convince people to kill others or kill themselves or whatever, but he cannot physically kill anyone or anything. So he can't kill the cats.
Right.
But we then learn that Patch did like his final performance because I think the circus kind of forced him into retirement basically that. Not Patch, the Magic Man. And so his last performance though was basically like sold out, but the people that were there were like the carnies and like Patch was there even. And he just went up on stage and there was just a candle burning on the stage when they went in there, and they just sat there for like 15 minutes waiting for him to come out. And when he came out with that bone-handled knife. And Patch explains that when the Magic Man came back from having his eye hurt and the heart attack and stuff, he claimed the devil had made it from his rib bone. And like he lifted up his shirt and showed him where there was like stitching on his side. And so Patch doesn't really believe it, but he's kind of hard pressed on what else it could be because it looks like a rib bone. But anyway, he ends up plunging that knife into himself and like guts himself, which is the same way the kids were killing each other with the knife, which I thought was, I don't know if you noticed that, but
I didn't think about that, but yeah.
But yeah, he like disembowels himself on the stage, and again, it's handled well. It doesn't go into great detail describing all that or anything like that. Like it's not super gory.
But it's enough to make you squirm.
Yeah,
like I said, like it's enough that you know what's happening. And honestly, to me, with body type horror, to me that's creepier than you giving me all out details of what happened. Like just kind of, and I don't want to say glossing it over because it doesn't do that, but just enough. Like,
just enough to let you imagine it.
Yeah. Like, oof.
But he ends up, or Patch tells them that, anyway, they end up figuring out in the timeline that this would have happened after he did what they did to them.
Yes.
Like, this was after they had started the fire and everything.
Yes.
So it's not like they were, like, talking to a ghost or anything, because that's what they kind of were afraid of at first. But now they know he's dead, and they saw that guy at the fair, so who was that?
Yeah.
So do you want to talk
And
for a
so,
bit? I feel like I've talked a bunch
at
there.
some point, we learn that when Stoll was younger, he wasn't very old. He was only like, what, like 9 or 10?
Yeah.
And he got aroused by a girl.
No. His mom was giving him a bath. And he got aroused.
I thought there was something about him having a crush on a girl, though.
I don't...
Anyway, at some point in here, she castrates him with a rubber band.
Yeah, it's the same one that she used on, like, the goats or something that they had.
Yeah.
And he has a brother that's, like, the perfect brother and stuff.
Yes.
And one thing...
And even comments throughout the book, like, why couldn't you be more like your brother? Or why,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah. And when he's an adult, he makes a comment to his mother of, like, you could have had my cleft palate fixed when I was a baby. Why didn't you have that fixed? She says, because the Lord sent me how you sent me, and you were going to stay that way, basically. So then he brings up the point of, well, and he like, pulls his pants down and, like, shows her and is like, well, if that's true, then why did you castrate me?
Yeah.
Which, the person who wrote this book must really like true crime stuff, because when you get into a lot of the nitty gritty of people that killed others, a lot of it stems from sexual frustration.
Yeah, I think he did a really good job with this book.
I agree.
I've read 3 of his now, and they're all really, really good. Now, and this is not my opinion, but I was talking to somebody else that said his newest one is not on par with these, but I haven't read anything that I would say that about, so. And everybody has different opinions on books, too, so.
But basically, you find out that he is actually the one that killed his brother. Spoiler, that's not a big surprise. Like, you kind of got that whenever he was talking about it. But he's the one that killed his brother, and he did feel the magic of his brother go into him, he says. And ever since then, he's been trying to recapture that feeling, so he's been murdering prostitutes mostly because people don't notice when they disappear.
Right.
And he wants to be the only apprentice. And he says the reason that the prostitutes weren't as good as his brother is because they weren't apprentices. So he needs to kill more apprentices to get stronger in the magic and find the well.
Yeah. I'm gonna let you keep talking.
You don't remember? So...
I remember the ending, but I'm kind of at a loss right now.
So Clay is in their hotel room, and he's doing some research on something, and Mia leaves to go get them food.
Mm-hmm.
And after she leaves, there's a knock on the door, and when Clay answers it, the guy Stoll is standing there wearing a mask of the magician's face. Mm-hmm. And he stabs Clay. And Mia can sense something's off, so she ends up turning around and coming back. And while this is happening, Jamie and Dennis are back at the house. And Jamie and Dennis end up in the barn where the Firebird is. No, Jamie ends up going in there by himself because he thinks he sees someone.
Okay, so we haven't talked about the Firebird yet.
I know, I was just
gonna say this. Well, I'll let you tell what happens, but this was like the one thing he remembers that his dad enjoyed growing up, like this car.
And it's what they drove to that girl's house in and stuff.
But it's like his dad's always out in the garage tinkering with it if he's not drunk and hitting their mom.
And so it's just covered in a tarp. Well, Jamie's like drunk, and he ends up pulling the tarp off the car and starts beating it with a baseball bat. Because there was a time when he was a kid where his dad was like beating and choking his mom, and he got a baseball bat and was like, if Dad comes after me, I'm gonna hit him with the bat.
Yeah.
And so he's kind of taking that frustration out that he still feels from when he was a kid on the car.
And so Dennis and Jamie shared a room as kids, and so I think this where you're talking about with the baseball bat might be the first time we see Dennis go into his turtle.
I think so.
But that was, I mean, his dad's like beating on the door, like, let me in. Yeah. And then he just kind of, which I assume drunk people can really do that, because then the guy just like walks away and.
Yeah. So while he's beating the Firebird, Dennis ends up coming out there. And at some point, I don't know if it's happened yet, or if it happens after this, but at some point, okay, so earlier when they were at the motel, I think, Dennis, like, smacked his head against the wall and left, like, a little hole in the wall that was almost perfectly round, and said he was trying to find the well. And So when they get back to the house, Jamie sees those holes in the wall. He's like, "Did you do all those with your head?" And Dennis is like, "Yeah, I've been searching for the hole or the well."
And I mean, not just one or two. Like they're all over the house.
And Jamie says, "Well, is it here?" And he says, "I don't know. Jamie Warren will show will find the well." Because he always.
And that's how he talks. Like when Jamie first came home, he kept saying Jamie Warren is home.
Yeah, and another thing, this isn't super important to the story, but Dennis kind of has a little bit of a crush on Mia, and Mia kind of lets him.
Right.
Like she'll kiss him on the cheek and stuff, and it's like a childhood crush, like the innocence. Like it's not like a.
Yeah, and I think Mia and. To me, out of our group of people, Mia is the protector.
Yeah.
And so, I think she kind of looked at Dennis as a little brother the whole time they were growing up. And then she tried to protect Clay. And, I think she was the protector.
Well, and she's even the one that later on, she tells, Jamie, she's like, I'm sorry, when I was a kid, I didn't understand what was going on in your house. And I understand now as an adult looking back. And I'm so sorry that you had to go through that by yourself and stuff.
She's just a good friend. She's just, I don't know.
But
again, it reminds me so much of the kids from It.
Yes. But Jamie and Dennis, while they're in the barn, Dennis sees a sinkhole in the floor. Because like we said, the black mouth thing, the mines collapsed and all that. So Dennis ends up going down the sinkhole and Jamie follows him.
Have we talked about how their dad died?
I don't think that happened. Do we learn? I think we learned that about here, don't we?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think it's like a flashback when he's out there with the Firebird.
Yeah, so you can...
So, we find out that their dad was crushed by the Firebird when he was underneath of it working.
Yes.
But, Jamie killed him.
Yeah.
He went up to the car and kicked the jack out from underneath the car while he was underneath of it.
I don't remember exactly what his dad was saying to him, but his dad was saying...
This might have been where you were talking about because it was after he came back from, obviously after he came back from juvie.
Yeah.
So this may have been when he was talking about well, you did murder somebody, but at least you got me out from having to pay child support.
Well, and what this remind me of, have you seen, is it Hereditary?
That's the one where the girl gets her head knocked off.
Yes. In that what this reminded me of whenever he's talking about this, it reminded me of that scene where after he knocks his little sister's head off out the window, spoilers for that movie, he comes home and he just goes to bed. That's what this felt like, because he kills his dad, his clothes and shoes are covered in blood, and he just goes up to his room and strips it off and goes to sleep.
Yeah.
And that's what it made me think of. Yeah. Which, did you know that's based off a real thing? That scene in Hereditary? No. That actually happened to one of the writers or directors, with his sister. And that's exactly what happened. He just went home and went to bed, because he was just so out of it and in shock and stuff.
I didn't remember not liking that movie, but that scene stuck with me.
Yeah. I think that's the most impactful part of the movie. And it happens just so suddenly.
Mm-hmm. And I don't remember why I didn't like the movie, but
anyway. It gets really weird.
Maybe we'll do that movie one of these days.
So they end up going down in the hole, and Jamie ends up seeing the 26 miners. He sees some lights down the tunnel.
So, and at one point earlier on, I don't mean to interrupt you, but at one point earlier on, somebody in town has told them that people used to see the ghosts of these miners around town. One lady, her husband showed up on her doorstep 3 or 4 years after the mine had collapsed. But it was just his ghost.
Yeah.
And she was so excited, but then when she went to get him dinner, he was gone.
Yeah.
So there's kind of a little bit of a ghost story there, but this is not a ghost story. So anyway, go ahead.
But he's walking down the tunnel and he sees some lights and he's like, because he's in one of the mines and he's like, why would they have kept up with the electricity and stuff down here? Well, as he's walking, he realizes the lights there's 26 skeletons. I think it's 26. I don't know why, but I've got that number in my head.
Seems really right.
But they have their headlamps on, and that's what the lights he was seeing down the tunnel were.
Mm-hmm. One thing we didn't talk about when we talked about what Blackmouth looks like, obviously there was a fire, and like you said, it's been, 24 years? Is that what we said?
I think
22 years, something like that. The forest never grew back. It is still, and I mean, obviously fire is devastating for nature, but nature comes back.
Yeah.
I mean, nature takes over everything.
But
in this situation, it did not. It is the land is just completely dead.
Well, and ash is really good for growing plants and stuff.
Yeah, and so, but it's this whole thing is just been dead
Yeah.
for 20 years.
Yeah. But he's walking through this tunnel with Dennis, and they end up running into the magician down here. But he's like, kind of, I don't know the right term.
I don't remember this scene, I'm sorry.
He's kind of like ethereal, like he's not like really there.
Oh, gotcha.
Like he's kind of like a ghost or like an apparition type thing. Like he's kind of
like
appearing
a
to
spirit
them.
type thing.
Yeah. And he even comments on like Jamie having killed his father and stuff, and I don't remember what all he says here, but basically he says like, yeah, I didn't do that killing, but in some way I lived on through that stuff, and like that kind of thing. And then the tunnel starts to collapse. So they're trying to get out, and then the barn starts to collapse, and Jamie is trying to get Dennis out this whole time.
And I got the impression, and I think he even says this, like, he's following Dennis down this tunnel, the part they're in, but there's no room to turn around. Like, it's like they're on hands and knees, and he has to back out of this tunnel and try to make sure Dennis stays with him.
So they end up getting out of the barn, and the barn, like, collapses, and then Jamie, like, realizes that he was having, like, another alcohol seizure.
Which I guess is a real thing. I have never, thank God, never been an alcoholic or been around.
Yeah, when you go through withdrawal, you can have that.
But,
That's why whenever, people wean off of stuff, instead of just full-on quitting it, because that kind of stuff can kill you.
Yeah. And we talked about Miles and his mom's ghost, and which I don't really think they were ghosts. I think they were Jamie's ghosts. But we see those every once in a while throughout the story.
But I don't know exactly what happens here, but I think Jamie and Dennis end up waking up in the hospital after this. And that's when he kind of realizes he had like a drunken seizure.
I think so.
And
at some point in here, after he passed out in the bathroom and Dennis got out, he kind of made a pact with himself that he was not going to drink anymore.
Yeah.
And that somewhere in there, before all this happened, this is when he calls his friend back, and that we find out she had fallen off the wagon.
But he, so yeah, they're in the hospital, so he and Dennis aren't really that hurt, so they kind of recover, and they're out in the lobby with, like, Mia and stuff, and, Clay is in a coma? And that's kind of where that ends, and then we kind of have a little bit of a flash into the future. Like we have a little bit of time passes, and Dennis ends up dying of like a heart attack. So then we get like even more of a well, before that happens though, Jamie's talking to him, and he says the magic man is gone, or the magic man is dead now. And Dennis says, no, not dead. And then Jamie says, well, where is he then? And Dennis says, he's in my turtle shell. And then he ends up dying.
That just broke my heart.
Yeah. So then, do you want to talk about the end?
So, not yet, but, I mean, we will, but, so the whole he's in my turtle shell thing, like, I took that, and I know you've said several times that we're not really sure if there's magic to this, but I kind of took that as why the magician was so thrown off when Dennis was there, was because Dennis was the only one who could defeat him. Like, kind of the final girl mentality of, holy crap, he's the one that's gonna he's the one that's gonna be the end of me.
Yeah.
And so when Dennis said he's in my turtle shell now, that just like, because he kept everybody else safe.
And Mia, I forgot to say, when Mia gets back to the motel, she ends up beating Stoll to like the brink of death, and so he's in the hospital in even worse condition than Clay.
Yeah.
I don't think Clay's in a coma. I think he was just in the hospital. I think Stoll's in a coma.
That's right, because they can't ask him questions because he's in a coma.
But the police like raid his house, and they find like 50 different masks that all looked slightly like the magician, but it was like he was like refining over the year until he got one that looked like the magician. So.
And he actually killed his mom when he was at his mom's house this time.
Yeah.
When we talked about like the whole castration and stuff.
But so this magician that's in the modern day was actually him wearing a mask the whole time. And the one from way back was a different person.
Yeah. So You go ahead and talk about the ending because you got a couple notes in there I can see sticking.
Well, you can talk about it, and then I'll bring those up.
So we just kind of have a flash forward
Yes.
this time. It's a couple years later, and Dennis has had his heart attack.
Is it a couple years?
I thought it was.
Okay.
I thought it was 2, but I could be wrong.
I don't know. Well, I'm asking that because Gary still has crutches. He's like leaning on her and walking and
Gary.
stuff. Clay. I don't know where I got Gary.
So I guess I'm wrong. You're right. I'm wrong on timeline. But anyway, they are back at the farmhouse to spread Dennis's ashes, and Clay's on his crutches, and that's kind of how the story ends, right?
They spread his ashes.
Yeah.
And Jamie makes the comment that the house is no longer haunted.
Yeah.
And he doesn't hear the baby and the woman anymore.
Yeah. And there's something about his red turtle. Don't they put his? Do they? Oh, that his urn.
They put
the red mask is tied around
yes.
his urn of ashes.
There was a part earlier on when they were at the fair where Dennis beat like one of those games where you hit the hammer down and it hits the bell. He beat one of those games and got the thing stuck up on the bell. And before he did that, he put on like a red Ninja Turtle mask he had cut for himself out of something.
Yeah.
So this is
back on that. Not to interrupt you again, but back on that. This was one of the parts that was really sweet between him and Mia because he lets Mia pick the prize and she picks a stuffed bunny, and like she's so like she carries it for the rest of the carnival. Yeah. She's got this stuffed bunny.
So what happened with Dennis was Jamie. After he was like in the hospital and stuff, he wasn't sure if the barn had actually collapsed or not, if that whole thing was like a hallucination, like when he was having the seizure. And so he's gonna take Dennis back to Ohio with him, which is where he was from. And so he has a heart attack at the house, right? That's where it happens at. Well, when they get there, the barn is collapsed. Like it did collapse. That actually did happen. There was like a sinkhole that opened under from like the mine. So I'm just going to read this verbatim. At least he's dead now, I said, and shut down the engine. No, said Dennis. His voice was quiet. He drew his big head back in through the window, his dark hair a wild mop, and looked at me. There was a clarity in his eyes that I'd never seen before. He's not dead. He is just trapped. Trapped where? I said, feeling my skin begin to prickle. In my turtle shell, said Dennis. But I want to point something out later on. So later on in the story, whenever they're spreading the ashes, I open Dennis's urn and shake his ashes out in the wind. They swirl and almost seem to shimmer as they travel through the heart of Blackmouth. The three of us stand there, watching the display, lost in our own personal silence. And for one fleeting brief moment, Dennis is right here with me, with all of us, and I can sense not only his consciousness, but the snippets of consciousness he collected like breadcrumbs from everyone he ever met. In that moment, I'm in Mia's head as she speaks to a girl behind the back alley of a theater in Van Nuys. I'm in Clay's head as he talks with Molly Broom. I even catch glimpses of the living nightmare that was Wayne Lee's Stoll as he goes about his dark deeds. I look at my friends and see that they've glimpsed these things as well. Most specifically is the look on Mia's face that suggests she sees what Dennis and I accomplished down in the well, and she appears instantly heartbroken, terrified, and proud all at once. I look to Clay and see that he senses it too. He is weeping silently and smiling at me as he braces himself against the headstock of his cane. All of this coming out of Dennis's turtle shell. So the magician's free, because all of this coming out of Dennis's turtle shell.
Wow.
I don't know if you picked up on that.
I did not.
And I mean, that's not confirmed anywhere, but that's what I was thinking about when I heard that. So that's what my notes were.
Oh my gosh. I do want to say, though, Molly Brown that you mentioned in there,
yes.
That's the girl that murdered her best friend.
And, yeah, I didn't clarify this earlier. The hole they went down in the barn, Dennis said that was the well, and Jamie had found it.
Yes.
Because Jamie had kind of uncovered it when he was beating on the Firebird.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that was my note. That's why I told you I didn't want you to look at my notes until after, because I didn't know if you picked up on that or not.
I didn't. So, this book has a little bit of everything.
Yeah.
And the scene with Dennis made me cry. And I don't cry a whole lot when I read, but I highly recommend this book. I highly recommend his books in general. I want you to talk about the audiobook, though.
Okay.
So, we usually do not do audiobooks on here, which there's nothing wrong with audiobooks, but I am very much a reader. I
Yeah.
can't, a physical reader. I can't listen to an audiobook because I get distracted and then it takes me twice as long because
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what happened? But you actually listened to the audiobook on this one.
So the reason I did that is because we had like I had like less than a week to get through this for us to do it on the podcast. And it's a lot easier for me to listen to an audiobook while I'm doing other stuff than try to sit down and read a book in that short of a time. Because most of the time when we do books on here, I'm fine reading it in time. And I probably could have read this in time, but I would have had to put some other stuff on the back burner that I didn't really want to put on the back burner.
Which he can blame his mom because I changed our book at the last minute. So
Yeah. But so I ended up listening to an audiobook through Audible, which I just did the free trial thing to get on there and listen to it. But it's on Audible if you want to listen to it, I guess. But I really did not like the narrator. And it's nothing against the narrator. I'm sure some people like that because there's... When I worked at the library, there were people that come in and they would specifically want me to look up specific audiobook narrators. And, like, it was really... They didn't even really care what the genre of the book was or what book they were speaking of. They just liked that narrator so much that they would go and listen to every single book they had narrated. And so this guy was just not my style. I like the people that kind of put a lot of emotion into it and it feels like you're in there with the characters. And this guy just had a very monotone, samey voice the whole time.
Yeah.
And like I said, that might be some people's vibe. Some people might just want to sit down and listen to it like that and listen to like a more low energy narrator.
But
it just was not my
and I was
my
gonna
kind
say,
of...
I don't know if it would work with this kind of a book. Like, you kind of have to have some emotion in there.
And I'm not saying he had no emotion, because some of the quotes and stuff, I would say he emphasized a little bit more in. But the majority of this book is narration from a first-person perspective that I feel like should have had more emotion implemented into it than what is given to it.
Right. So that is Black Mouth by Ronald Malfi.
Yes.
So...
And I do want to talk about something about you could interpret this as magic or not being magic. It is left pretty ambiguous. I lean on the side of magic just because of some of the stuff with Dennis.
I lean on the side of magic a lot because of the physical, like the black eye coming back and the cuts opening back up and the arm aching. Like, I lean more toward that showing signs of magic.
But one thing I was thinking about, if you go with the interpretation of it not being magic, the ending where everything is coming out of Dennis's turtle shell, how you could still take that as the magician being free. I was thinking of a way that could work even if you were taking this as realistic. The way I would take that is, this is only a small portion of stories that we've heard. And like, was it Molly? Was that her name, the one that killed her friend? Like, Molly's still out there and stuff, and there might be others. So there may be other apprentices that are out there that are still doing the same thing that Stoll was doing.
Right.
And that's how you could take it from a more realistic interpretation of the magician still out there. But I was just thinking, if he writes a sequel to this book, he gave himself a kind of an out that where...
I never even looked to see if there was a sequel.
I don't think so. But I liked this book. I don't know if it would have been one I read if we didn't have the podcast. Not because it was bad, but I tend to like stuff that goes full magic or just stays realistic. This one did a really good job of writing the line, but that's just not really my favorite kind of story.
There is no sequel.
Okay. I didn't figure there was. But I don't even know really how you would do a sequel. I don't think you could ever recapture how good this one was. It's a good book. It's not like my personal favorite kind of book.
Right. And I really liked it, and I read all kinds of horror and thriller type stuff, and so, and I will say, and you know this, I did not like Something Wicked This Way Comes.
Yeah.
To me, that was a slog. I'm going to use your word. That was a slog to get through for me, and I don't know if I did finish it. But to me, this is how you do a carnival with an evil person in the carnival.
I think there was a lot of cool concepts in Something Wicked This Way Comes. And I think I overall enjoyed the book. But like you said, it was kind of a slog to get through. And in my opinion, I think it would have worked much better as a short story with a lot cut out of it.
Mm-hmm.
I just think there was a lot of dead space.
Yeah.
Where,
And,
like, nothing was really happening.
and that's one thing about this book. Like, there is no dead space.
Yeah.
Maybe the part with his AA partner,
That's-
buddy
yeah.
person.
And I don't think that part was bad necessarily. I just think it kind of interrupted the flow a little bit.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
But that's just my own personal opinion. And like you said, you think it helped kind of humanize him and show that he was becoming better.
Yeah. So, I highly recommend this one. Check it out. This actually ends our serial killer month.
Yes.
So next month is
Psychological.
psychological thriller. So I do know we're doing Donnie Darko
And our book will be Scowler.
by...
I don't remember.
I don't remember the author. I had it laying right here. Anyway, but Scowler will be our book. But we are doing Donnie Darko, and I know we're doing... I can't remember the name of it. The lawyer one. What is that called?
What?
The one I want to do.
I don't know. You have it written down somewhere.
I know. So anyway, next month is psychological movies and book. And
so do you know which movie we're starting with?
Probably Donnie Darko.
Okay. So for next week, watch Donnie Darko, and we will let you know what the other movies are then.
All right. Have a good one.